start with some questions from Alpha Kappa Alpha. As an international public service organization, members of AKA Incorporated are involved in advocacy, as you just heard, and service to improve the quality of life of residents locally and worldwide. Awareness, advocacy, and action are the primary vehicles for the delivery of service initiatives, which include economic security, social justice, and human rights and health. So with that said, here are a couple of questions so we can get things started here from AKA. What could the city do to better support minority-owned businesses and urban enterprise zones? So we're going to start with our seating chart here. And the first question would go to Ms. Lauer.
Give it that first question again.
What could the city do to better support minority-owned businesses and urban enterprise zones?
Well, for the first thing the people need to do is select the right leaders for the city, then we won't have to worry about these things. We want a city that's fair. We want to have a voice. We want to be heard. We want to be listened to. So if the city would come out and stop discriminating against people and work with all people, that would make it better right there. In fact, that would give us some jobs. That would stop a lot of fighting. And we have a lot to share, but the doors have been closed to minorities. We need to open the doors. In fact, let's kick them down.
Well, I think the first step to helping minority businesses is to lessen the regulations that they have to comply with in order to get their businesses started. Now, the city's working towards that end, and they're having some success, but I think we need to go further. I think we need to make the permitting process, the zoning process, all the regulation process as simple as possible so that people can get out. I mean, they have limited funds. The problem with regulations is they cost money to comply with. And the less regulations you have, obviously, the less money you have to spend on, getting a certain thing just right, just so that it'll pass inspection. Now, I'm not saying that we should not be safe. We should be safe, but there's certainly a lot of regulations and a lot of red tape that can be eliminated, and then we can expedite people getting into business. As far as urban zones, that's just looking at the zoning laws. And a lot of the zoning laws need to really be looked at and see exactly what they're calling for. I think, I tried to read through some of the zoning laws. They're very complicated. And we need to simplify the process so that business people and entrepreneurs can quickly and efficiently start their businesses and get to making money and hiring people. And I think that's the first step.
All right, thank you very much.
We need to invest in the infrastructure that will bring jobs into our neighborhoods. And for too long, we've been overlooked as a district. So when you build the light rail down Central and you build in transportation opportunities in Levine, you're going to create neighborhoods that will bring in the investment. And minority businesses are actually going to be the biggest job creators in our city moving forward. It really is in the Latino and African American markets where we've got the most to gain. And if we empower our citizens and our residents to actually have the opportunities to have city grants, to have job training programs, then we'll be able to open up more of these businesses. But we also have to face the reality. We can talk about jobs all we want, but we have a critical crisis in our community. Folks aren't graduating from high school. So bring in as many jobs as you want, but if we don't make sure our kids graduate from high school and are prepared in the new economy, we're not going to actually keep the jobs in our neighborhoods for our families. So make sure kids graduate, invest in local infrastructure, and promote grants and incentives to actually empower our communities to open up our own businesses.
Reverend Stewart?
Review the city's economic development plan first to see where minority-owned businesses as well as urban enterprise zones are already located, to see what we've done thus far and to see where we have to go. To, again, bring forth partnerships between public and private enterprise so we can work together. Another thing would be to converse with minority-owned business leaders so that to hear what their needs are, hear what they are saying, hear where they see the city's is being successful in helping them, where the city could do more. And then the final thing would be to provide seminars and incentives, not necessarily using tax dollars to pay for the incentives, but a chance where minority-owned businesses can enhance what they are already doing in meeting the needs of the people that they serve.
All right, question number 2, and then we're going to start with Mr. Rodriguez for that one, okay? And that is, what does the term environmental justice mean to you, and how do you see incorporating strategies to promote this in your term of office?
Environmental justice is probably not, I don't see the environment as a justice problem. That's a society problem. We all have to take care of the environment. And we all have to be a part of that. Now, government plays a role in that through regulation. Now, I'm not talking about overburdens of regulation, but we do have to make sure that if somebody's producing paint, that they're not throwing chemicals and stuff into the water. And we have to make sure that the laws that already exist are justly applied to those that break them. For too long, we've allowed big corporations and kind of crony capitalism to creep in and allow some of these things to go without being addressed. But we need to address them, and we need to address them across the board. And that will help us to get our environment, as we see the environment.
Thank you very much.
I do believe that environmental issues are about justice. Why is it that in our neighborhoods we've got more light industry? Why is it that our kids have high rates of asthma? Why is it that you can go on the Broadway corridor and not find a grocery store, right? Instead, what you find are metal shops and industry. So it is a justice question to me. When I served on the African American Legislative Leadership Committee, and we put on a conference down at the Capitol under Senator Landry Taylor, I brought in folks from the Sierra Club. Sandy Barr came down there. And I also brought in Michael Pops. I've sat on Michael Pops' porch right off of Broadway and 9th Street many mornings, and Michael will point to his neighbors who have all had higher rates of cancer and asthma, and have had all sorts of health issues that there is a disparity with. So justice for all means that our neighborhoods don't take on all the industry, that our kids don't have high rates of asthma. And the city plays an important role in terms of zoning, and in terms of regulation, and in terms of making sure that our neighborhoods are just as safe as the ones on North Phoenix or in Ahwatukee.
All right, Reverend Stewart.
I was about to say that we need Michael Pops here to answer that question. He probably can answer it much better than any of us up here. Environmental justice is real. It is something that needs to be addressed. It's already been indicated by Mr. Robinson and others that we have been unfair, we have been unclean, we have been unjust in dumping companies that pour out pollution, waste in areas where people of color live, and poor people, not just people of color. And so environmental justice means that they would need a spokesperson, and I would certainly do that, to stand up and call for justice when it comes to cleaning up the areas where many of our people live, where many of our young people and elderly are affected every day by unclean air, by fumes that come out of the ground. It is simply not right. So I would be a strong advocate for environmental justice as a city council person for District 8.
All right, and lastly?
Ms. Laurie, well, I just wonder where these people been then, because this environmental justice has been going on for a long time. I too served with Michael Pops. I'm one of the original founders of the organizations that worked on environmental justice. We were used as a stomping grounds, the dumping grounds. Everybody dumped on us, and they still do in District 8. So all these people that could have done something and didn't do anything, I want to ask them, what have they done for us lately? Where have they been then? Because we've been needing this done for a long time. Don't tell me it took this candidate deal for you to come forth and talk about you want to do something. Really? That's why we at the bottom. You better vote for me.